And welcome to a Climate Conversation podcast. This is a podcast series that we've started to complement a climate conversation documentary. And that documentary is the project of Walt Johnson, also known as Santa. And Walt Johnson, welcome. We've got a great podcast planned for today.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for all the work you've done. Thank you.
And Santa, I've been a really good girl this year.
I'll remember that. I got you on the good list.
Okay, great. And our spokesman for a climate conversation is Dave O'Rourke. Dave, welcome.
Ho, ho, ho.
And our featured guest is a friend, Floyd Trujillo. And this is going to be perfect for Christmas, Hanukkah time. So really excited about that. And Dave, I'm going to throw it over to you as we get things started here.
Well, I can thank you, everyone, for joining us for this podcast and for the podcast series. And of course, in sharing the documentary film, A Climate Conversation, this is important work. And today takes on a little bit more importance because the subject is going to be how we help our children understand the world and our role in it. And frankly, the importance of human flourishing. Today, I've got some statistics here. Today, a third of fourth graders can read or write at grade level, according to national statistics that were recently published, 1/3 of them. And yet, at the same time, climate activists are insisting, they're demanding that global warming be taught in every class of every discipline in every school. So you can see that there's an emphasis on this, and there's a targeting of young people. Probably nowhere is that more dramatically, how can I say, portrayed than right here. So let me just take about 20 seconds and share something with you.
Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones.
Now, it's my understanding that her dreams were not really stolen and that she's doing fine. She's running around somewhere in a cafe right now and has found a new thing to be concerned about. But I think we should all be concerned if children feel that their futures have been compromised and they've been stolen by us, and they can that they might begin to look at their parents as evil and not a loving and caring influence on them. The asymmetric warfare that's being fought right now is extraordinary. The Department of Energy, the Department of Education is a woke is no joke place. There's no room for dissent in the National Education Association. A good way to get yourself fired as a teacher in the United States is to suggest that global warming might not be catastrophic, and in fact, a little bit warmer planet with a little bit richer carbon dioxide mix in the atmosphere might be a good thing for people and for flourishing and for things like food security. On the other side of that asymmetric warfare is one really wonderful person, our guest today, Floyd Trujillo. So,
Thank you.
Floyd, forgive me for playing Greta Thunberg. You probably heard her more than you want to.
I have.
But if you could tell us what caused you to write this book and what sort of your biography and backstory and how we got here. How did we get here? How did you write this book, Floyd?
Sure. Well, my family actually settled here in around the Taos, New Mexico area back in 1613. So we've been here about 400 years. It's kind of fun to go back and look at the written history of my family. You'll find some historical names there. I have two aunts. They're sisters, Josefa Jaramillo and also Ignacia Jaramillo. And Ignacia was married to a gentleman by the name of Charles Bent, one of the Bent brothers, Bentfort. He was actually the first governor of the territory of New Mexico. Her sister, Josefa Jaramillo, was married to frontiersman Kit Carson. So it's kind of fun to go back and look at this historical roots for where I came from. But I myself was born in Las Vegas, New Mexico, moved to Colorado when I was 6 months old, so I had no choice in the matter. I'm the oldest of four kids, grew up in the industrial town of Commerce City. We're about 2 miles from the Conoco refinery and about 400 yards at that time from the Rocky Mountain Arsenal chemical weapons plant. So it is a working class community out there. Matter of fact, my 90-year-old parents, both of them still live in the same house where I grew up. At the age of 17, listened to the United States Marine Corps. So I went in the Marine Corps at the age of 17, served with the 6th Counterintelligence Team. At the age of 20, I declined a enlistment package, which included a promotion to staff sergeant and an officers candidate school. So I was honorably discharged at the age of 20 with the rank of E5 sergeant. Back in the civilian world, declined a position with the Colorado State Patrol and Westminster Police Department. But I took on a temporary job as a mail clerk with an oil and gas company, Reserve Oil and Gas, while attending night school to figure out what I want to do with my life. So lo and behold, I'm in the industry for in the production area, production accounting and revenue area. 10 years later, went to work for this company called Reserve Oil and Gas. And back then, we were the darling of the industry. We went from almost bankruptcy, and we sold the company for $2.1 billion to Pioneer Natural Resources back in 2004. And after that, did some consulting, retired, reviewing projects. But after 40 years in the industry, I got tired of being demonized as this evil person with oil and gas. So, for years, I've thought about this book, writing a book on educating kids on oil and gas. And that's where it started. Me and Dexter, little King Charles Cavalier, and that's what got the book going. It's been a 3-year project. We're going to release the book. I should say we're going to start pre-sales on January 1st. But I'm married to a wonderful lady, Krista. Kim knows Krista, and have 2 beautiful daughters. And I just want to thank the industry for the opportunity to be here today. Okay, this industry provided me everything that I have right now. I thank them for it. And that's basically the story of the book.
Well, let me just put up a picture of the book, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about when this book will be available and where people will be able to get it.
The book will be available. We're talking January 1st as a pre-sale date. It's when we start selling the book, and it'll be on Amazon, bookstores, websites. So, matter of fact, the website is dextersadventures.com. Get on the website, check out the book, and some of the features we have in the book.
So we'll put that up again later. I want to encourage people to, at a minimum, take a look at it. Can they visit you? Is there anything online, any resources they can go to?
Absolutely. Just get on dexteradventures.com, and you'll see the pieces that are in there right now. Absolutely.
That's terrific. Thank you for writing the book. So, Floyd, would you call yourself a scientist or an expert on atmospheric conditions?
Not at all. Not at all. I as I tell folks, I have as much experience in that as Greta Thunberg and Al Gore do. So, no, I'm just an average, everyday guy who making a living out there. That's all I am.
So the ethos of the book, can you describe that for us? I presume you're not making a scientific argument about the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere or relative concentrations of methane or something like that. I think you're more stressing the role that fossil fuels have in our lives and all of the things in our lives, right? Every way what we eat, how we move around, how we stay warm, what happens when we go to the hospital. These are all absolutely dependent upon the oil and gas industry.
Right now, I have in front of me, real experts yourself, Walt over there. You guys are the experts on this stuff, okay, when it comes to climate change. On my side, I decided to tackle, let's say, the early stages of education. Because I believe that once kids get into the middle school and above, they've been fed so much stuff when it comes to movies or schools that they have their minds made up. If I could start with the little guys and basically teach them that everything around them is made from oil and gas, their cell phones, your books, your glasses, your computer, look around you. We wouldn't be here today without fossil fuels. So my whole intent is to educate kids on oil and gas. The book itself, what we do is it's three parts. The first part is we teach the kids the alphabet using items in a classroom made from fossil fuels. B is for book, banner, C is for chalk, clock, that sort of stuff. The second part is in each adventure page that Dexter's in, we show items in the adventures that are made from fossil fuels. A kayak, a motorcycle, an ice cream shop, various items to show the kids where the stuff comes from. And finally, we asked the kids to find the hidden prehistoric animal in each page. So it's a fun book. Kids love it. Parents love it, reading it to the kids. So I've given away a number of copies, promotional copies over the past year. Matter of fact, Kim has a copy, so does Walt. So the book in itself is I'm not getting into any kind of scientific jargon. All I'm doing is just basically showing the facts to these little kids. And it's hard to argue those facts. And I tell folks, if you don't like oil and gas, it's very simple. Don't use it. But again, we can't do that.
Floyd, as you know, on the show, I wordsmith all the time, talk about language.
Mhm.
And I've had people suggest that I not use the term fossil fuels. What do you think about that?
I was at an event here in Denver back in 2019. It was hosted by Alex Epstein. And I was invited by Mr. Robert Boswell, president of Laramie Energy, and went to the event. At the dinner, we're talking, and a gentleman got up and said, you know what, we have to stop calling ourselves a fossil fuel company, because they're using that against us. We should call ourselves a carbon companies. And from that point on, that's all I ever heard was, we're a carbon company. But my argument is this: at what point did fossil fuels become an evil word? At the point that we failed to defend it. Okay, I could call it cake and ice cream. It doesn't matter. They'll still call it fossil fuels. Same thing with fracking. They try to use fracking against us as an evil term. What I say is use fossil fuels instead of making it evil. Let's make fossil fuels cool again. Like in the book in Dexter's Ventures, there's a bunch of kids dancing to Dexter and the Cool Cats on the cell phone playing music. Okay, so fossil fuels is cool. It's not evil, and we have to get that message across. Not let the opposition use it against us.
No, I agree. I think reclaiming these words is really important, Floyd.
So I'm excited about it. So like I said, it's out there for us. Like I said, if you take a look, if you look up fossil fuels or fossil fuel books on the internet, all you'll find is books about fossils and dinosaurs. There's no book that talks about the positive impacts of oil and gas.
It's a very important book for these. And what's the age range on the book?
The age range is it was 3 to 6.
Okay.
And a friend of mine told me it should be from 3 to 10. But I had an interaction at Murdoch's down the road that I changed it. So the back of the book now reads for children and adults of all ages, because even adults have no idea that they have fossil fuels around them.
We should give it to college kids, huh?
Well, matter of fact, what I have is I have one group that wants to order 400 copies to pass out to congressmen in D.C. I have another group that actually wants to put it in their states, pass out to states legislators. And I got 3 groups I'm working with right now that want to put it into the public school systems in the state.
Love it.
So it's moving along. We're excited about it, but it's time to get this thing off the ground. And I think January 1st is we'll start doing that.
That's awesome.
Well, now part of this, the success of the alarmism, for lack of a better word, let's just say alarmism versus realism. I'm not trying to insult any or hurt anyone's feelings, but for the people who have an agenda regarding net zero, for example, and trying to radically shift the way the United States produces and uses electricity, natural fuels, fossil fuels, are really only a part of the economy of a relative handful of states. Isn't that true? I mean, so if you live in many of the states in the United States, there's no industry for this.
That's correct.
You don't know anybody who works in the industry. There's no Floyd living down the street from you. It's something that happens over there. Over there might as well be Saudi Arabia.
As I point out in talking to folks, 16 states, only 16 states produce 93% of all of the oil and gas in this country. Another 6% is produced from offshore. So as folks, how do you convince these people that are in these states that produce no oil and gas that we're not evil? And that's why I think that there's a difference between climate change and products. On my side, I'm trying to promote the products used in our everyday use. It's very difficult to eliminate those products. So trying to do that is what I'm trying to do.
Well, and Walt, Walt, I think that really is important. That's one of the things that we've really learned, and I hadn't really thought about it, about all of the products that makes our lives better that are petroleum based, Walt.
Almost everything we use, your clothes, your iPhone. We've talked about the healthcare and the plastic tubing used. You wouldn't have tubing if you didn't have plastic, and you wouldn't have any of that without fossil fuel. And so we're at times wanting to just throw it all out, and yet there's a lot we can't get along without. Fertilizer is another one. But mostly, I think, for Floyd's work, I was delighted looking at the cartoons, the pictures. You had friendly dinosaurs. I would hate for you not to talk about fossil fuel with such nice looking, friendly dinosaurs in it. It was nice. I enjoyed the artwork in there.
Well, thank you, sir. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed this, as has Dexter, so we're enjoying this process.
I understand. How's Dexter doing? He's actually your family dog. Is that
He
right?
is, but he passed away in July.
Oh, no.
That's a tough thing to lose a pet.
It is, but the thing is, right now we're actually talking to some other folks in Centennial, another breeder, and we're hoping to have a Dexter DJ or Dexter Jr. come January when we start this process. So it was a lot of fun. 11-year-old guy, but like I said, he lived a great life, had a lot of fun. So, and this book is dedicated to him.
Well, and he lives on in this book.
He does, but it's been a fun journey. Like I said, I can't complain. Like I said, but like I said, I think that it is upon us to educate these kids because the schools aren't doing it. And I think a fun way to do it is with a fun, friendly book. Matter of fact, I have 6 colleges. I have logos. If you notice on the dinosaurs, they have their school logos on helmets or hard hats. And to do that, I had to reach out to these schools to get permission. So I had to send them a copy of the book, make sure it met their standards, it wasn't offensive. So to me, I'm proud of that the 6 major colleges approved their logos in the book. We also have Honda American Company allows us to use their logos on the motorcycle, letter H, and also in the Acura NSX and letter Z. So it means a lot to me where companies like that and people like that can actually say, yes, this book is great, go ahead and do it. It's not offensive. So
That's awesome.
just a little feather in the hat is all.
Okay.
Well, it's not going to be, I just think it's wonderful to speak to kids as kids.
Right.
And not try to terrify them, but also help them understand. And I think there can't be much of a difference in knowledge about fundamental awareness, because something like 78%, this is what I heard from Ron Stein in a recent podcast in this series. I want to encourage everybody to watch the Ron Stein podcast. Something like 78% of Americans don't know that plastics come from hydrocarbon.
Right. Fossil fuels, excuse me.
Excuse me, I meant to say fossil. See, that was an opportunity right there. They don't know. That's, they don't understand that, even if they're old enough, that when Dow Chemical said better living through chemistry, they were talking about the chemistry of fossil fuels.
A quick story for you guys. I think I might have told Walt that. So I went down to Murdoch's here down the road last year with Dexter and walked in with him to get some treats, and a young lady behind the counter, probably late 20s, early 30s, and we're talking, and I explained to her that I just wrote a book about the dog. And she said, well, what's the title? I said, it's called Fossil Fuels in the Classroom. And she said, oh, does he teach kids how oil and gas kills everybody? And so I laughed. I said, well, I said, no. I said, what about the book, the ABCs, the adventures, the hidden dinosaurs, that sort of stuff. And then I proceeded to show her around a store everything made from oil and gas, which is really everything. It might have food in there, but it's wrapped in plastic, in clear covering. So it's all made of oil and gas. And then I said, as for killing people, I said, our governor and our president have both said that the vaccine saves lives. Now, so far, 5.8 billion people worldwide including 220 million Americans have gotten the vaccine, which could have been done without a syringe with a shot made from fossil fuels. Therefore, the industry, if you believe in oil and gas, if you believe in the vaccine, the industry has saved 5.8 billion people worldwide. And she was like, I never thought about that. And that's the problem. They don't know. It's up to us to teach them.
I think when you're having a conversation, Floyd, and somebody says, I never thought about that, I think you're making progress.
Correct, which is great. That's where it starts. You have to converse. And the thing is, the fun thing about this is we're educating folks. The opposition, all they sell you is fear. So get fear out of it and just talk about the facts.
One of the themes that runs through our podcast series and is featured in the documentary film is the idea of cost and benefit. Now, Walt, this is a very important subject because on the table here, and this is discussed in the film, I always say it's like Moore's law. The cost of net zero doubles every 18 months and it produces half the benefit. So it's kind of an inverted Moore's law. But how, and this was kind of a question for both of you, is like, when do kids get introduced to the idea that this is going to cost virtually, all of the GDP produced in the United States to reach net zero? I mean, the numbers are spectacular, Walt.
When do they understand that? Probably it'll be when they reach 40 or so, when they start paying all these taxes. They're going to have to be super high. In fact, as near as I can tell, it will take half of everything all of us earn, we send to make these products, to give us alternate fuel. And we will send all of our money overseas because all the materials needed are overseas. And I think we'll have a shortage of currency before long. So I just don't think we can get there. I don't think we can get there for a lack. I don't think we have materials to get there. And as near as I can tell, the most optimistic benefit that we've had so far is 0.1 degrees centigrade is how much warming we would save. And it doesn't, we're doing a lot for nothing.
And at what cost?
Our freedoms.
Floyd, don't you think that many of these kids, and the word I think is indoctrination, but I think that they've been indoctrinated that their own individual prosperity and human flourishing is a bad thing?
Well, true, it is, but what do you put that blame on? What do you how do you solve that? And I believe it starts at home with the parents. Parents have to be more involved in stopping this trend of the leftward leaning propaganda. So otherwise, I mean, to me, it's the parents that got to get more involved.
But a lot of the parents of these younger children have gone to colleges where they've been indoctrinated.
That's true. That's true. Again, the best thing that I can do is go out there and promote the book and actually challenge people to live without fossil fuels, to live without oil and gas. And have those discussions. When I'm discussing this with a handful of people, 6 people or less, I can get across. I can actually make some headway. When you talk to a large group, there's too much hollering and screaming and just shouting you down. So I think it's a matter of going door to door, of small groups, and just basically educating people on fossil fuels. That's the only way we're going to be able to do it is educating folks. And again, I think it starts with the kids.
Well, you're not alone. The Department of Education in every state, at the federal level, in universities, everywhere, seems to share the same idea. I have a quote here from Lenin, the revolutionary hero of Soviet Union, and he said, "Give me 4 years to teach the children, and the seed I have sown will never be uprooted."
Yep.
That's a terrifying thing to contemplate. If my kid came home and acted like Greta Thunberg, it would be a soul searching moment for me. Unfortunate that I tell my kids, hey, go pick low fruit because these people are not working very hard. If you work a little, you have a chance to be very successful in this world. But,
Right.
Yeah, I actually fear for our country with where we're going right now, but excited about the elections, so I'm good with that.
Well, what do you think about Chris Wright and being tapped on the shoulder for Department of Energy?
Probably the best person out there for that job. I mean, the guy is articulate. He's smart. He knows what he's talking about. Matter of fact, I was at an event on the 11th last week with him. He was introducing a new organization, the American Energy Institute, along with former State Representative Jason Isaac as their CEO, and Molly was there. Molly Vogt. So we're talking, and Chris was there. We're chatting about the book stuff. He has a copy of my book, and lo and behold, 5 days later, he's nominated as the Energy Secretary. But smart guy, very, very smart guy. And like I says, he can tell a story where you can understand it, unlike some other folks that are very smart. And just like I say, you have to reach everybody around this country, not just the smartest of the smart, even folks like myself. Okay, so educate me on this stuff, and I think it's doable. But smart individual.
What kind of changes do you think we might see?
I think we'll see is the all the above approach when it comes to oil, not just oil and gas, but also nuclear. I think that some of the regulations will probably peel back on that. I don't know. Like I said, I think that you'll see probably more plans being built for LNG to ship overseas. So I think it's very good for this country and for the industry, and basically for humanity across the board. When you talk to Chris, he's all about humanity across the world for oil and gas. Or actually, I should say energy.
Energy prosperity. I saw a headline recently, Floyd, where Biden was touting that under his administration, or the Biden administration, that they had spent increased spending sixfold on green energy, if you will. And where did the money go on all that?
I can't tell. Perhaps Floyd's camera might have frozen here for a quick moment. But these are the questions, Kim, right? These are the things we must get a handle on. What are we being asked as taxpayers to spend? And what is the exchange? What can we expect to get in return? You talked to all kinds of people about this on your radio program.
I know. And in doing the film, Walt, I learned so much because you have been concerned about this for quite some time, and that's why you did the film. But this has been a kind of a long time in coming in getting to the documentary.
It has been. In the same time, I've noticed the attitudes are changing, and people are opening up and discussing things a little more and looking at things. Before, folks were just marching to this one tune. Yep, this is what we got to do. And I still see a lot of that. The curious thing is, it seems to be working people are waking up. A lot of the people that are continuing to march down the road are not really what you call blue collar working folks. I was at a conference here recently, and a lot of earth scientists were there, and they were apologizing for starting their careers in the fossil fuel or oil and gas industry. But now they're happy to be doing something good, which is pumping the carbon dioxide down under the ground and storing it, which is probably, I'm questioning how much we're going to benefit from that. And I'm probably marching to a little different drum than a lot of folks there, but it's still something I have concerns about. And it's been a concern for a long time, because when I started to look at it, it was before Ken Gregory came out with the first estimate of how much this is going to cost. And on the film, it just worked out. So he said, we need a good cost benefit estimate. We've learned since that Ken did not really add up all the costs. He couldn't find out what the cost would be to reclaim or recycle all the material we're using. We're making all these windmills and solar panels, and they have a lifetime of about 20 years. The solar panels have a lot of cadmium in them. And we saw recently where Hurricane Milton came through and just wiped out a swath of these solar panels. And the question is, where did all the cadmium go? You know, that's a real good question. You know, I don't want to be the one that lives downwind from where those solar panels were. I don't know how much cadmium I'd have in my soil and how it would go into the plants and come back up and cows would eat it and go into the milk. There are just all sorts of things that could happen. And with the windmills, we don't know what we're going to do if we have that many windmills to have all alternate energy. It's going to require about 5 Western states, all of their land, to do this. And these windmills are going to last on the average of 20 years. When I say 5 Western states, the states would be filled with windmills. They would last for 20 years. And then what do? We don't have any way to use them. We have to chop them all up and bury them. And people would send them to Wyoming to bury. But now Wyoming is saying, wait, we don't want to be a garbage dump for windmill parts. And so we have a lot of things we have to work out before we put this in front of us by 2050. It doesn't even look feasible from all standpoints, in economic, materials, or even getting rid of the material that we'll have to get rid of. But anyway, that's a concern that I've had, and it's prompted me because in order to do all this, if we march down this road, we would have to give up our ability to drive cars and picking the car we want. And I joke that you can take away my wife's gas stove when you pry the little red knobs from her cold, dead fingers. You know?
Don't challenge her.
I can make a mess with anything, no matter what I cook with. But it seems that really people that take a lot of pride in their cooking just love those gas stoves, and I can't tell the difference, but other people can, and they should have that choice.
I don't think I'd want to try to take your wife's gas stove from her. So, hey, Floyd, I think one of the things Walt is alluding to is critical thinking. And I think that that's something that is missing in our educational system. Somebody gave me a cap that says thinking cap. Mm-hmm. And I wore it out, it was a hat day, and stopped at a little Mexican restaurant to get a breakfast burrito. And the girl behind the counter said, "Oh, I remember that. My teacher and my parents always told me to put on my thinking cap." And I think your book probably helps kids put on their thinking cap. Yes?
You know, what it does, it at least makes them think about it. You know, when you go to school as a kid and you've been told for years, or 3, 4, 5 years, that fossil fuels is bad, oil and gas is evil. You know, that's all you're taught. And then when a child reads this book, or a parent reads a book to them, it makes them think about, wait a minute. If it's that evil, then Mom, why do you have a cell phone? Because according to the book, cell phones are made out of oil and gas. You know, there's a bunch of stories in there that you can look at and relate to when it comes to your everyday life. That's what's called Dexter adventures. These little adventures that we go out throughout life, that these kids are taught this stuff at school, and they're not teaching them the other side. And again, you know what? I tell folks, you know what? Make a decision of what you want to do, but at least make an educated decision, not just focused in one direction. Okay, so whether it's this or anything else you do in life, you have to research to find out what the truth is. And unfortunately, they're teaching the kids just one direction. I prefer if they teach both sides of it and let the child learn from this. You know, may make a decision on this. So.
And Walt, I've got a little list here that, not Walt, sorry, Walt, but I'd love to hear you on this. Floyd, I got a little list I got from you here of previous disasters. Okay. And I remember these. Okay. The new Ice Age. I remember the cover. I remember the cover of Newsweek magazine, and that we were going to all freeze to death, and that was just the end of everything. Rising seas, acid rain, ozone layer depletion, melting ice cap, death of the polar bears, droughts, famines, now global warming. One by one, these things have come up, and then they didn't happen. So just as a man, just as an American citizen, an observer of our culture, does this thing really have legs? Are we, like, the way I think of it, I'm just going to throw this extra thing in. There's a chance that gas at the pump is about to fall about $2 a gallon. And I think that can have a tremendous societal impact. I mean, it's in the supply chain. People are really struggling with inflation. And if their electricity bill could go down, and if their gas bill could go down, and if those inputs to the supply chain cause their food at the grocery to go down, I think this is a really very powerful argument that's pro-fossil fuels. But what is your sense about how long this alarmism can go before it peters out?
I don't know. It's been going on for 50 years, at least in my lifetime, so, now it's climate change. So I don't know. I think that, but you're correct. I mean, everything is oil and gas based, whether it's in transportation or manufacture the product itself. Oil manufactures everything around the world. I tell folks that there's not a single industry that survives without oil and gas. I can't think of any. Maybe you can, but I can't think of any. But you're correct. Price drops. You can see the price drop in products and all around you, food, manufacturing, everything. Of course, the oil and gas companies, they might say, there's a fine line there, of make a profit and going under, So hopefully it's just not too drastic. But like I said, it's good for the country.
Well, I saw a statistic on the amount of ozone the amount of greenhouse gases that went into the air for the recent COP29 conference. And it was absolutely mind-blowing. It's just mind-blowing how cynical this is for John Kerry to believe that he's so important that he can't take a commercial flight. I just look at it and I think eventually sanity will work, won't it? I need some help here. Won't sanity eventually work?
I think it eventually will. I think it's worked. It worked through earlier this month, so I think we're going in the right direction. So I don't. Again, sanity works when you start educating people. That's where it starts. So it's on the educational side. That's what I've been pushing on. This is just, you got to educate. Like that gal over at Murdoch's. Okay, she had no clue on that oil and gas was used in a syringe. Okay, so just simple things like that. That's all. Just education.
Well, I hope. It seems like it's had real legs. I think the first IPCC conference, Walt, you correct me, I think it was 1988. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I know they
when it started.
Or their first big report. I think it might have been 1988. That's a long time ago. It's 36 years ago.
Well, I got a question for you, Dave. When did this really take off? When it came to the climate change, the solar panels, the wind farms, and all that. When did it really take off?
Well, if you ask me, the government spending part of it, as I recall, was really was highlighted. I mean, the poster child for that is the Solyndra investment made by the Obama administration, something around 2010, I think, 2009, 2010.
Yeah, that's when it started.
The government started spending billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Correct. That is correct. It was all based on making some money off the taxpayer. That's all it was. It's all. Imagine that kind of money spent someplace else other than this falsehood of climate change.
Imagine if people keep that money in their pocket, and people that don't have a gas stove would have money to buy one if they wanted one, right?
Yep.
That helped the gas stove industry, and it would just make the economy really go.
Kim,
I
you
really
you
became
said
aware of
ever
stuff.
did say about 10 times that the green in the green movement is this color of money.
It's true.
Yeah, I think it might be. I think that might be the truest thing spoken.
Hmm.
Well, I became aware of the impending climate, concerns probably in the late 1990s. And a lot of it, I think, was brought about with the Kyoto Protocol, which we did not participate in as a country because it would not get the support through the Senate or Congress. But at that time, we were beginning to learn how to do horizontal drilling and fracking for natural gas, and the natural gas became more plentiful, and folks were naturally changing the coal-fired power plants to natural gas power plants. And at that time, I remember talking to people, and in fact, we could, by using natural gas as a more common fuel for a lot of things, our power plants, our vehicles, it would be a small cost, and it seems like it would be a good thing. And I thought, well, we'll just adapt. I tried to buy a natural gas car at one time. It just never happened because it was so difficult to fill it up. And it took a little longer. It didn't take as long as charging an electric car, but somewhere in the 80s, or in the 2000s, we began to jump. We got to drop all fossil fuels, and we got to go to the Paris Climate Accord, which is a whole different ballgame on how much we're going to reduce things and how much we're going to change our lifestyle. I think it would be a minor change to go to the Kyoto Protocol, which happened much earlier. And I think we could do that realistically. The Paris Climate Accord, I think, is just too severe. That's my take.
Well, it's a fascinating idea because while we're not signatories or participants in those things, we lead the world in reductions of greenhouse gases, the whole world. In fact, if you look at it, it's gapping away while our production of greenhouse gases has been reducing steadily for 5 billion populations around the world or more. They're increasing dramatically their greenhouse gas emissions. So this is you said, well, there's a question of sourcing the material. There's a question of, is there enough money? There's a question of, what are we going to do for medicine and food? There's just all these fundamental questions about it. But at the end of the day, there's also the question of looking foolish, where we're the only country that's trying to actually do something about these problems. And while China's building a coal-powered energy plant every week. And I don't think the kids in classrooms know this.
I think it's our development in this country of fracking, especially fracking in the horizontal wells, that has helped us reduce our carbon dioxide footprint. And we've probably made our lives better. We've made fuel more efficient and more cheap than we had been. And I think that'll be good to get Chris Wright up there at the Department of Energy. And I think his background also is strong in nuclear. And I think we're actually starting to wake up to the fact, maybe if carbon dioxide is such a bad thing, why don't we go to nuclear? And when you see Bill Gates building a nuclear power plant and other people reopening the what was that, 4 Mile Island plant?
3 Mile Island.
Plant? Yeah, 3 Mile Island, sorry. People are putting a lot of money out to go to nuclear, and I think those are logical things. In the long term, we'll have to do that. And even though with the new innovations that have come out on the fossil fuel part, we will be getting to running out of our fossil fuels in 200 years, maybe. So we have to think of that long term. But I like the way some of the thinking is changing. And a lot of the innovation has come out of the US, largely because we're the way we are.
You know,
I mean,
it's
go ahead.
funny. It's funny how you talk about nuclear, and it's funny how Hollywood and the culture has impacted everything we do. You take a look at 3 Mile Island. All of a sudden, nuclear is evil. No more power plants being built. You take a look at. Have you ever seen the movie Cars 2? It's an anti-oil and gas cartoon. Also, Bigfoot family. So all this stuff put up by Hollywood, these kids believe it, and it takes us decades to finally change things, like you're saying about nuclear.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things that they're hearing, like that we're a racist country, which I have not. Obviously, we all live here, and obviously, there's some injustice in the world, and I think as long as there's people living in it, there probably will continue to be. But it's hard. I can't be convinced that we're a racist country. I'm not convinced.
It's a being a American of Hispanic heritage. I hear that a lot from people, and it just disturbs me that people use that as a tool to divide us. Are we racist country? No. Have I seen racism? Yeah, I've seen racism, but it's not. How can I say it? It's not as prevalent as people believe it is. You'll see little pockets here and there, but for the most part, look, I'm an oil and gas. I succeeded in this industry, and I'm thankful for it. But I never really saw racism in my industry. So again, I think it's just a tool used by a particular party to win votes. My own opinion, anyway. So
yeah,
I remember. So you mentioned Cars 2.
Mhm.
The movie, and the cars are endearing and in the movie, and there was a book, and I can't remember what it was, but it was about a little electric vehicle, and its brothers they were all different kinds of gas powered vehicles, and so it was a little story about kind of like the little engine that could
Mhm.
in the race. And as I was reading it, I thought it was cute, but I could see this underlying message that was being taught to just little kids. So that's why your book is so important, Floyd.
Well, thank you, Kim. Thank you very much.
Now, it's going to be released. So what if people wanted to get it for Christmas this year? What would you suggest? Can they pre-order it and then deliver it later, or have you thought that through?
Well, we thought about that, and the thing is, we're hoping we're shooting to start pre-sales August 1st, and then release it Black Thursday, Black Friday, I should say, November.
Wait, now what day are you?
We were planning on an August 1st pre-sale date with a November 29th release date, but the problem we had was that's when we lost Dexter in July, so kind of put everything in the back burner, So.
Okay.
Rather than trying to rush it through and get it to the Christmas season, we thought let's take our time, let's do this thing right, and release it January 1st.
Okay.
So that's the whole idea behind that, is to release it January 1st to have an impact and to do it right.
Okay. Yeah, it is so important to take your time and get it done correctly, and so it can be a Valentine's gift for kids or something.
Yeah, like I said, it's a lot of folks. Of course, Chris Wright has a copy. You have the Texas governor has a copy. Wayne Christian with the Railroad Commission. Mike Summers over with API. A lot of folks I passed out promotional copies to these individuals. So it's fun. Like I said, we're excited to get this on the road, and to actually, once releasing it, is to actually go into the road and go into schools in various states to promote the book within the school system. I mean, to drive up and have Dexter with you and read to the kids. That's what we want to do.
Well, who did the graphics?
The graphics was done by a gentleman in Indonesia, and I have a buddy of mine. His name is Tim Brower, and he actually he owns a downhole service company, oil and gas guy, and he started his own little publishing company so he can do his own books. And he's got like 3 books out there, but he turned me on his artist out of Indonesia. His name is August, and he's like I said, but the thing is, being in Indonesia, it's 12-hour difference. So I'd be up at midnight till 2 or 3 in the morning talking to him on trying to get these graphics right, So It was a long process to communicate with someone that on the other side of the world, but did a great job, pretty good job.
That communication between the vision of the creator
Mhm.
and then to get to what they really want, it really is a process. And I remember, Walt, when we were filming the movie,
Mhm.
I looked over at you at one point, and you had I would say, a look of bewilderment on your face.
That's probably an understatement. I had this vision that I had to do this thing, and I thought we'd have a green screen or something to put slides on and talk from. I've given lots of papers in my life, but I always had a slide, and we always had something to talk about, and we had no way to talk, to look at the graphs we're showing in the film, we're talking about in the film, and I was just overwhelmed with all of it. And I thought, well, I guess I was delusional, but thanks to Colton, our genius producer and co-writer, and people like him and everyone that was in the movie, it turned out to be, I think, it could be called an inspired work of art, and it is good, I think. But
it
thanks
does
to everybody else.
Yeah, it takes vision and communication to make all this happen. And so, Walt, you know that, and Floyd, you know that.
It's a lot of work. One thing I want to point out, though, is that, excuse me, is that the book will actually be printed here in the United States, by the way, made in the USA. I've had offers to have it printed overseas, get a better price for it, but I said, no, I can have it printed here in this country, so.
Nice.
Now, Floyd, have you had anybody push back on you? Has there been any sort of organized resistance or anything?
I had one group. There's a company out east, Marcellus Play, big company, and reached out to their VP of. He's an attorney, and he loved the book, just loved the book. So he passed it on through his staff, the corporate. They came back and said, we love the book, but the problem is it's biased to oil and gas. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point, And he sent me 3 emails from folks that didn't want the book, didn't want anything to do with the book. And what's funny is, because of LinkedIn, you can actually tap into these folks to see where they come from and their education stuff. And it was a bunch of DEI individuals that didn't want the book dispersed. Now, of course, things have changed over the last few years, so we're kind of getting away from that. But I had one lady that said that the book is more fiction than fact. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, well, you claim that oil is that shampoo is made from oil, fossil fuels. Yeah. Well, she said, I can make shampoo from natural oils. So okay, so what you do is you actually learn from that, okay, and you go back. So I got up in the morning, cup of coffee, computer on, and I searched, making shampoo with natural oils. So okay, to get on Amazon, and then you go to Amazon, you have to order these shampoos. You have to order them, and they come to you in the packages and wrapped in plastic and stuff. All these oils, and the mixing cups made of plastic and stuff. I said, well, that's true. You can make natural shampoo from oils, but you can't make it without oil and gas, because the products they shipped in. So because of that, the book you have right now, Kim, it says products made from oil and gas. Well, that's changed. The edited copy says products made with oil and gas.
Nice. That's great.
So anytime you get some pushback, resistance, what you do is, instead of getting angry, you kick back and say, okay, what am I missing here? And you figure it out and you change things, So there's been a few things like that we've done, So, but it's what else? A few of the pushbacks. I had one gentleman last year at a Christmas party. He's a environmental attorney, and he's also a chemist, and talking about how we have to get rid of oil and gas. It's evil. It's evil. I said, go and start. You start the movement. He had his hair in a little man bun, rubber band there, clothes. I said, everything around you is oil and gas based. So those conversations are fun to have. Of course, when I have the conversations, it's always good mannered, good spirited. It's never confrontational. So because when you have the facts behind you, there's no need to be confrontational. So
that's important.
There are a few like that, but it's overall, it's hard to argue the facts of the book itself. Very hard. Like I said, it's a fun kid. It is a kid's book, but it's also educational for children and adults of all ages.
Dave, it is amazing what we as parents and grandparents can learn as we're reading children's books to children.
Mouths of babes. I think there's an opportunity, to learn from them. I played the little Greta Thunberg thing. I don't want to beat that horse to death, but I got to feel that she's the product of her parents,
Right.
that she was trained up to be the way that she is, and she was manipulated. This is what I believe. I don't know that it's true, but it's what I believe, because I think the natural state of children is happiness.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonder and joy, and it should be love.
Well, you kind of feel sorry for her. Look at that. You feel for her as a parent. It's like, how can you do that to your child? But talking about books, I think that one thing we need to do is get an old favorite out there to start to get in the schools, which is the story of Chicken Little.
I remember that.
Yep.
That story is actually based on one of the oldest myths in human history. They've been telling versions of that story since ancient Greece.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a pretty powerful story, and I've seen it used as a lesson for stock market investors as well, because there's something about the herd instinct
Mm-hmm.
that is deeply embedded in the psyche of humanity. And I mean, this is something that Lenin knew. If you're a trusted person and you repeat a message enough times, it will be believed.
Right.
And so you could have a message that says life is beautiful and humans were placed here to flourish and love each other and shepherd the resources of this world in a way that's good, in a way that perpetuates this incredible thing that we have. Or you can tell people that humans are bad and there should be fewer of us and don't have babies. And it just seems to me, I just don't understand how there's a split here, because I think if you just position the equation around, particularly ironically around their children, I think people will say, I want more for my kids. Mm. I want safety and I want prosperity and I want them to have options. What the educational infrastructure appears to be teaching kids is absolutely the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's not just for our kids, and that's one of the things I think Chris Wright tapped on the shoulder for Department of Energy is that we want that for our country, but we would love to export that energy prosperity across the world. Instead of bringing us down, it would be much better to bring everybody up. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about what you're trying to do with this book, Floyd.
Yeah, Chris has a vision, worldwide vision, which is great. I just love the guy. He's just articulate. But if I can do that, starting with the first 16 states produce oil and gas, and then move on to, let's say, California, New York, that'd be kind of fun to engage over there. So some folks told me, what about the folks that they name certain politicians that hate oil and gas? I said, you know what? I'll hand them a copy personally and sign it for them. Just do it. So, but we're excited about getting this done. Like I said, it would be fun to go to DC. Let's say this organization wants to buy 500 copies for all the congressmen. Go to DC on release date and personally sign all the books and hand deliver to the congressman. That'd be fun. Okay, so I'd enjoy that.
I could see that happening. So I've learned a lot, and Santa. I know that you've been watching the narratives out there and who's behaving themselves on the narratives regarding climate change and who's not, right?
I'll put you all on the good list. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I
love that. Dave, I always learn so much in these podcasts.
I just want to say one thing I love being part of it. It's such a gift to be part of this, but Floyd, I think it was Aristotle who said that to be a man, you must plant a tree, father a child, and write a book.
Oh,
I want to
Thank you, sir.
congratulate you for what you've done here. This is it's a gift that you brought to the world, and I think it's going to make a change.
Well, thank you. So I'm hoping so. I said it's I'm excited to get out there and talk to folks. Absolutely.
well, yeah. And be sure and check out the website, A Climate Conversation. Dave, we've got all these great podcasts and the documentary there.
And also check out dextersadventures.com.
There you
Oh,
go.
of course. And I know Zach will have that on the Chiron as well. So as always, first of all, Floyd, thank you so much. And it's just great to have you.
Good seeing you again, Kim. Dave, thank you so much. And Walt, you're the man, Santa.
Thank you, everybody, for all
Take
of
care.
it.
And ho, ho, ho.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Take care.